Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program micro mods live on camera. And today we are continuing work on the wargs, who have had a little bit of an upgrade since our last session, I guess we'd call it. And what caused our early end to last session was simply that the system for registering containers and UIs and tying them together has changed a fair bit, so consequently there's a whole new pipeline for doing that relative to 1.12, so I had to figure out what the heck that was from like two different mods. But our test popper here now actually has an inventory, and as well as a button here to control whether they're sitting or not, which is pretty sweet. Hey Fuzzy. It's a little bit hinky at the moment. The actual storage of the inventory and its rebirth is a little off at the moment, but pretty close to functional. And in fact, we have a data value inside of them now for. We have two data values in them actually. One for whether they've got a saddle on, one for any armor that they're wearing, that should be handled, but I don't know 100% just yet. One for whether or not they've been given saddlebags with a chest, as well as one for carpet. I decided that one of the oldest parts of various oddities was having mobs be things that you could customize in appearance so that they all looked distinct rather than just being one vague generic sea of the same zombie 1500 times, for instance. So I figured being able to decorate your warg would be like something that people would be really interested in. So consequently, I decided to borrow from the llamas, so we've also got the carpets as well as the armor. So it's 3 distinct levels in addition to their genetics and their coats, which is a pretty nice, I would dare say. But what we are starting off with is adding saddlebags to their actual visuals, so that you know which wargs are potentially carrying stuff. And then after that, we'll add the saddle on the back as well. And I don't think we'll have time to get through all of the different armors, but we can at least do maybe a little bit on the carpet, just as an idea. So first things first, need to add a little chest to these booties. And that is done with a render layer. So, if anybody's new, the warg is a genetic variant of the warg, which is a wolf that has been tamed by a goblin. Goblins don't treat their wolves very well, so are we going to follow llama carpet visuals for the wargs? Probably. I'm not great at pixel art, but probably. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, goblins tame wolves, and consequently that creates wargs. Wargs have a variety of genes to them, so they have genes for a shorter muzzle, they have genes for a lolling tongue, for floppy ears, and they also have a gene that if a given warg has both of those genes turned on from both of their parents, then it instead spawns a warg, which is a very big doggo that you can ride and use as basically a pack mule. They're very strong mounts, but they're a lot more unruly than horses because they will try and attack things whether or not you're riding them. But anyways, add layer, new, let's see, warg chest layer, we'll call it. And that's going to need a model as well as a texture, but we should be able to handle it, I think. Shouldn't be a huge problem. First, the missing time. Yes. I need to remember how to do that. 1 second. What's a good example? Kobolds, I guess? Yeah. Oh yes, the babies. Of course, the scorpion babies. Don't go by animal farms if you want to keep them. Yeah. Make sure they're sitting. In short. That's all good. Okay. Okay, fixes that. And there's the renderer. That's the part where we actually get our model, bind our texture, and do the whole rendering process. Okay, so good example here. We have the scorpion babies. Some of the scorpions, giant and regular sized, have little babies on their back, and they drop them. And if you kill them, so it's like an oh no, extra loot. In our case, we're going to be having a sort of standardized model for the most part, so that we can just chuck this onto something else, as well as the wargs of our mounts, for instance. Just going to rename this for conformity's sake. That's good. Okay, model entity. What is it? Extends entity. There we go. Syntax error. Oh, I keep putting it in the wrong place, that's why. Okay. Now, if we go to the horse renderer, we should be able to see that there is a distinct lack of how things are handled. Horses are about as horrific in Minecraft as they are in real life, biologically speaking, because every part of them is built into them. So that means that rather than just having a render layer that turns on or off, chest is actually in here somewhere. Somewhere it is in here. So we need to figure out exactly where it's going on. And if we actually go to the textures for horses, I think the saddle's in there as well. Straight into the flesh of the horse. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. This is horrible, but it's here already. Oof. I'm opening the texture here so that I can find the actual texture coordinates of the pieces, and that'll help me find it inside of the model, because of course hardly anything here actually has a meaningful name to it. Okay, so let's go for a nice creamy horse. Why not? So here is the texture for the saddle. That's the bit and bridle right there. And here is what we're after. Here's the texture for the actual chest that a horse has. Favorite part of it is it being there on the not donkey mule model is that regular horses can't be used for storage. They can. I'm pretty sure you can. It's just donkeys tend to have like more. If it wasn't available on all horses, then it wouldn't be here in all the textures. Or that's what we'd hope, anyways. Okay, so texture location is 2621. So we should be able to find that number in here somewhere. Well, there's 21. But it's at 48, which is over here. That's part of the leg, as near as I can tell. 26, 25, maybe? Okay, let's try checking for 21s. There's gonna be a lot of that noise today, I'm sure. so all the 21s are basically right here, which would suggest these are all the same thing. And of course, this being the horse model, virtually nothing actually gets parented. 26-0? What is that piece, I wonder? That is part of the saddle. Okay. So we've identified the saddle, at least. It's right there. We can definitely tell the size of it. We can tell it is 3, 8, and 8. So probably about 8, 8, 3 would be the dimensions of this thing. Is there another chest on this texture that I've overlooked entirely? No, it's always in the exact same place. This is fascinating. Okay, if there's... I'm trying to think, there should be a value inside of the horse entity that tells us if it has... Is there some donkey model class that they're hiding the chest in? No. But there should be a value for whether or not they have a chest. The problem is I don't know what it is. Because horses and donkeys extend from the same base class, not everything is where you want it to find, really. Let's see. Jumping, leash distance, rearing, breeding. Sounds settled. Okay. Inventory size. 2. Very helpful. I'm certain you can put stuff in horses. Am I seriously just remembering, like, wrong or something? Have I had my nose too deep into... Can you seriously not put stuff in horses? Am I wrong? Huh. Apparently I am. Okay then. That just raises further questions. Why the hell is this texture in the texture for every single horse if horses can't have chests? Oh, Minecraft. Yeah, apologies, Sweden, you were right. Wow. Okay, has chest. That will presumably be used in rendering. Okay, which means it's these two as part of horse armor chests model. And which would be very handy for us to just use, except that that demands what kind of creature we're rendering, so we can't. But more or less, we can just steal this. Because we'll be doing the exact thing over and over anyways, so... Except that instead of showing the model here, we can just render it in the layer, which is much easier. But okay, we found it. We got there, everybody. Still bizarre, but we got there. Why is this one declared up here, but that one gets declared down here? If you ever want to give yourself a massive headache someday, going through the horse code in Minecraft really does the trick. Okay, that's fine. Juvenile, I guess, baby wargs can't have chests added to them, so it's kind of okay for us here. Okay, so chest R. At this point, the horse model and stuff should come with a big warning sign that it will make you lose your mind. A little bit, yes. Eldritch code not meant for human eyes. Yeah, I like. The horse code is kind of unique in Minecraft because it was not created by Mojang. It was created by Dr. Zark of Mo Creatures back in the day, and it got added to Minecraft. And when it was added to Minecraft, it was just more or less a direct port of the code from Mo Creatures. Though if I think a few less horses that like breeds and such than Zark allowed. But it just sort of it got stuck there, and it was bad. It was always bad, but I don't know. The most terrifying fact of that is the extrapolation that nothing in Mokri. Oh yeah, that's fair. That's entirely possible. Oof, imagine that. Okay, so is there anything else I'm missing here? Rotate angle. There you are. I believe that's 90 degrees. Okay, almost the same thing. Just opposite sides. And opposite rotations. Surprised there's no mirror. Usually the left side is mirrored from the right. Now, what is that? And is that just related to... It's not overwriting anything, it's not an abstract. It's in here in the horse model as well. Interesting. Sure what this function does because it's not been named. It's clearly parents stuff to an existing model, as near as I can tell. Parents stuff to the head. Interesting. Okay, let's just make this an abstract. And then we can make model warg chest extending out of that. So that means essentially we have something that will just always have that. Okay, grab those two pieces, because this is basically all that we're looking for. issue there at all. Oh, right. Didn't change that. Okay. That should give us something. Let's go back to the horse renderer for a hot second. Just so we can grab one of these textures. Because if I try to render it with the textures for the scorpion babies, then we're not going to be able to see much. It's going to be very odd. Mostly transparent, in fact. Right, that looks good. It's not going to be perfect just yet, but... in fact, I believe there's one slight problem, which is that currently it doesn't know to render anything. So let's see. There we are. There's the rotation angles, which we don't care about. That's just basically the layer renderer. There's nothing in here that renders, is the curious thing to me. You just added to the body. Ah, there's a thing I forgot. Yeah. So much stuff. So much stuff. So where's the first instance of render here? There we are. So left chest and the right chest. That should be all that's necessary. And we've already added it to the renderer, so it should be ready to go. Oh, there is a problem. Must inherit that. Okay, right, yes, I need to set the rotation angles. There is some animation to the rotation angles, which is generally built on, because donkey chests do move as they go, but I don't actually see that being put in here. So I guess we just do pretty much nothing. There we go. Okay, this is going to be weirdly placed on our warg, but let's see how this looks. Yep, if anybody in chat has not checked out Various Oddities already, the 116.5 is what we're working on right now, and it is... There's a lot of stuff to it already. It includes essentially origins plus you can spawn in, pick a species, it gives you a bunch of different resistances, abilities, that kind of thing. You can then add templates on top of that if you've got access to commands and stuff. You can do a whole ton of things with the abilities system. It's a very broad and powerful system, and people on the Cumblock Home server are enjoying it a lot, and as I understand it, a lot of the Forge devs are getting into it as well. Okay. You are not displaying a chest, but if you don't have a chest, why can we access this? Let's find out. Let's see. Has chest will be written in here regardless, it's just a matter of finding it. I'm not seeing it. I wonder if that's part of the problem. Oh, wait, no. Chest 1B. Okay. So you should identify yourself as having a chest, so why don't I see anything? Is it rendering inside of you, perhaps? No. We should definitely be able to see that. Okay. Did I forget something in the renderer? Nope, all of that looks fine. Interesting. Okay, let's put a sys out in here. And see if this is actually rendering. In which case, we know the problem is in the render code and not something else. But the reason we have model mount chest and then we extend from that to make model warg chest is so we can use the same thing, just slightly reposition it and whatnot. So it's always going to render as the same thing, it'll just be able to be moved around. Rather than having to do it laboriously for every single time. Okay, so as soon as we load in, we should start rendering, and if indeed this warg actually has a chest, there we go, it is rendering. It's just not visible for some reason. Okay. So it's not the entity data, it's the rendering code somewhere. Okay, there is warg renderer. Let's get you. Okay, we want to point that to a different place, essentially. Chest. Wonderful, cute little fox mug there. Okay. If we give it that, which is a texture that does not presently exist, then it should be a lot more obvious where it renders. Let's also have another look at this and see how it renders. Because there will be a point where it gives basically a list of stuff. Get body parts right there, in fact. Okay, for... there is translation, it looks like. As near as I can tell. There's a bunch going on here. Rendering code is always my weakness, so yay. Let's see, for each do that. Pushing and popping. Transition, that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, we're basically just doing this section here. So that should be fine. Okay. Let's run that again, see what happens. A very, very long while ago, I had another mod that I worked on that I don't think I ever saw remotely the light of day, which was called Yoke Dwarves. I'm sure a lot of people here might remember that one. And one of the things that was in that was a series of goblins. And goblins were meant to be the opposite of the dwarves. The dwarves were very much build a city, maintain it, and it'll do a whole ton of stuff, whereas the goblins did most things worse, but they did it on like the backs of really big goblins, so a single goblin could be like an enchanting room, essentially. I kind of want to bring that back, because I feel like I could do that better now. I could probably do most of it better now, but, you know. Resistance required, set value 1B. Just so you don't go anywhere. Because I have a feeling that's being rendered at 0, 0. Where are we currently? We are currently at pretty close, actually, to 0, 0. Nope, not seeing it. Interesting. We would be able to see it underground if it was being rendered underground. It's definitely not hidden in its geometry anymore. Fascinating. So it has no texture, so we should just see black and purple. We've definitely added it to the warg renderer, because otherwise we wouldn't have got the sys out from right here. We know it is rendering it, we're just not seeing it. Yeah, that's definitely right. By the way, this is the code for the scorpion babies, just generates them identically in different positions. Interesting. Let's... Yep, that part's fine. Oh, I am an idiot. Okay, who can spot the problem with this code? Ah, there was something I forgot. Can anyone tell what it was? Can anybody tell me what I forgot to do? The correct answer is that I made model renderers for the chests, and I put them into position, and I rotated them, but I didn't actually add the cube that is the chest to either of them. This line right there. Ah. Wow. Wow. Oh, yep, these are actually identical. That's handy. Okay. Now, there's actually something to render. Very hard for you to read the screen? I'm sorry, I would broadcast it at 4K, but I would need a bigger monitor for that. So 1080 is what I get. You also have terrible eyesight. That's part of the way why I wear these. My eyes are actually largely fine, but these reduce the eye strain from staring at monitors all day. Okay, so that was probably working perfectly fine the entire time, and we just didn't have anything to render. I wish I could say I've been staring at code too long, but I'm not even an hour in. Okay, there they are. They need moving, obviously, but there they are. And, yep, they rotate properly. They're quite a scale, actually. Like, Well, they exist now, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay. So now the purpose of model warg chest. Or I guess model chest warg. That would make sense. Now we have to shuffle them around as well as apply rotation to them according to the state of our warg. Pretty funny to see two floating cubes flanking me in the warg. I guess. There's nothing in here for rendering, but I don't think there was anything for scaling either inside of the horse model. Let's see. Yep, there's only 6 coordinates in here, which means that they're not being scaled up. They're just that big, apparently. Now, back in the day, I could boot things up and modify models and textures and whatnot, and they would be updated live in-game, but it does not seem to be the case for 1.16. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of trial and error of it. Entering a value, booting up the whole thing, checking it, closing it down, changing the value, doing the same thing over and over again. Pain in the neck, but oh well. Let's see, what is there? -8. Interesting. Okay, what about model warg? 14. This is just buy mods and not the whole pack? Oh god, yes. Dear lord. Although, when you're doing things in a modded, in a, like, for, like, various equipment, for instance, has various oddities as a dependency, as well as curios. So, if you're doing it there, you do actually have to load a bunch of mods. Those look massive to me, personally. Let's grab ourselves a donkey. And a chest. Oh, right, yeah. We gotta go for this rigmarole. Love me. Thank you. I have to do that even if I'm in creative mode, and it's a pain in the neck. Oh, I forgot there's another cage here. Okay. You need a saddle. And they need to stand here. Modify the donkey. There. Oh good, I can still drive it even when it has no AI. That's ended. Okay, yeah, that is much smaller. Which tells me there's something going on in the actual rendering for donkeys. He started to run for it, yes, before I lobotomized him. Looks like donkeys are just using the same renderer. Which is interesting, because they have 2 different entries. Abstract chested horse. Okay, that's interesting. So they have horse renderer, and they have chested horse renderer, because I guess chested horse is now donkeys. Very strange. Honestly, horses are pretty badly coded in Minecraft, but they're functional. Same with like most other things in Minecraft. But the thing that is the worst that I have ever seen inside of Minecraft is loot tables. Think about how complex every loot table is, pretty much, inside of Minecraft. It'll have those, like, conditions, there's different items, there's a weight for every individual item, there's the data of the item, all that sort of thing. Every single different, different loot table. And in JSON data, that's all neatly arranged and blocked out so you can see what's doing what and what thing. But all that's generated in code. And in the code, it's the entire thing is generated function by function in a single line per loot table. It is so massive that this, which is functionally just a text editor, this is basically Notepad+, lags when I open it. It is astonishing. Okay, so it does give it a scale, but it looks like that scale is just zeros. So it shouldn't have any trouble there. I don't see anything that causes scaling, so I can only presume then that there is a scaling value inside of here. Did I give it the exact same? Just while I'm checking here. Yeah, that doesn't even call anything else here, interestingly enough. Yeah, that just binds something, that's weird. Doesn't extend out of any kind of chested horse model. -8, yes, good, okay. So the only thing that makes sense is if the body is scaled differently. Body rotation point y equals 11. Interesting. Let's flag one over to child, okay. Body rotation point y equals 0. This is weird. Don't tell me they gently resize the things. No. I mean, if they're kids, then yes, but that's just the way that works. But I think the chests want to be equal to that plus 8, essentially. I think that's what I'm seeing. At the very least, so we get something a little easy to work with. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that looks like scaling, even though scaling is clearly happening. Okay, there is a scale value. What is the scale value given here instead of our chested horse renderer? Just a scale is given. Okay. Which also gets passed through to... Okay. So there's a scale value that is presumably called... Let's see, undead horses are at 1. Horses are at 1.1. but the default is apparently 0.75. No, that's not right. Interesting. Okay. Well, there is a scale rendering happening here. 0.87f. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. There's your difference for how big or small the donkeys are. We have to rescale 0.7f, which is about 13% smaller. Okay, then. Fortunately, I can do that easily. And we'll see what the difference is after the break. Catch you then. welcome back, everybody. So just before we left off, we discovered the scaling that is exact between horses and donkeys, and also that contrary to my memory, horses cannot also have chests, which is odd. I distinctly recall them having that, but apparently not. Oh. There's a bug there. I wonder what was causing that. Okay. Oh, a loop in the renderer. Okay. Somehow we've created a loop in the renderer. How have we done that? Ah, that's where. It must have selected the wrong value when we were typing it. Oh well, that happens. So inside of model warg chest here, we've now got the actual body location of the warg. We can modify that a little bit if we like, to move it around a bit further if it's still not quite in the right place. There we go. Okay. So they're not the right size, but they are at least closer to being where they should be. Interesting. Okay, let me just get you guys to stand still a little bit more. By just telling you to sit very still. There we go. Okay. So I do need to figure out what's going on here. Shouldn't be too difficult. I'm certainly not sure why it's actually as big as it is, honestly. It should be scaling down, but apparently it isn't. So let's have a look at ageable model. And it does have a scale, okay. But clearly we're not scaling properly here. I guess we can also change that back to actually use the horse texture for the time being. That'll give us a bit of a better idea of what it looks like. Do we do rescaling? I don't think we do rescaling, but you never know. No, we don't. I'm not seeing anything that looks like a scale value here. Nope. Okay. It is definitely 0.875 compared to the horses, which is just 1. Well, actually it's 1.1, I think. Right, they should be now textured big ol' cubes in the sky. Oh, that's interesting. No, white horses do have it. Oh, I wonder if it's the scaling of the... Scaling of the model might be to blame there. Let's see what's the scaling on that. 64 by 64. Okay. Yeah, those are huge. I'm not entirely certain why, but we can tinker a little bit. Scale down further, for instance. See if that changes them. Quite why the saddle is still in these textures, I don't know, but it is. Shouldn't be, but it is. There's a lot of values going in there. Scale for children, though, so we don't care much. Please be chests now. Okay, and they actually look about the right size, almost. Interesting. Which suggests that which suggests it's downscaled for being a donkey, and then downscaled further at the chest layer. As near as I can tell. But I don't see anything doing downscaling like that. Very strange indeed. A mystery. But let's see if we can compare sizes. I just move you forward slightly, please. Just okay. Okay. They do look bigger. I'm kind of okay with them being a bit bigger though. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 pixels wide. Whereas this is about 7 or so. Let's get you standing. Okay, so we want to have our chests back here, which is the most logical place to put them. And we also want them to actually rotate according to the orientation of the body, because there's the main and then there's the body, and that's a different part of the warg. So let's see, where are the legs at? 16 and about 7. And we'll do ourselves a little bit of a favor here by actually rotating these. can tell where the actual center point of rotation is. I have a feeling it's going to be at the bottom of the chests rather than the top. And nope, it appears to be around about in the middle there. Okay. But the rotation point's right, but I think they do need to be... Well, they obviously need to be lower. I think they'll be okay with their width. So let's go to, say, 20, and move them back to 12. Bearing in mind, we do need to take into account that these are being rescaled, so they don't necessarily match the exact coordinates of the actual warg. I guess we blame Dr. Zark for that. I was so sure that you could actually, like... apparently not. Very strange. Where am I remembering that from? I'm sure I've had horses with chests on them. Is it really just donkeys, specifically? Donkeys and mules? Maybe I've just spent too much time with llamas. Okay, that is a much better location, I think. Maybe move them. No, actually, I kind of like that degree of back. Let's just move them down a bit. And then we just have to rotate according to when the warg is sitting. Taking an awful long time to do this one little thing, but believe me, this is far more interesting than watching me try to figure out how to get the UI working. Or fine-tuning the positioning of everything in there. I do try to have visual things to program on Tuesday nights, but yeah, not all the time. Not all the time is it possible. Okay, a bit lower than that. Say 26. And while we're at it, grab that. And we want to change this up whenever the body is, whenever the warg is in sit mode. Have to shut that donkey up in a hot second. Okay, so just trying to think, how do I specifically want this to work otherwise? If they're not sleeping, then Interesting. Ah, shaking. That's why. Cold. Yes, it does. Very good. Okay. Very certain this is going to be wildly off for where our chests need to be. Okay. Ah, right, I think they're generated vertically. That's why. If your warg had saddlebags, would it wear them like this or like this? Seems like it's got mounted to its legs. It's interesting. Oh yeah, we got things to fix up here. It's gonna require a whole ton of fine-tuning. Where's a nice cube I can just borrow? Not there. So 15, 20. That will give us a little dot that will tell us the exact rotation center of the body. Try and match that up with the rotation point for the body on the warg, and from there we can modify the rotation points of the chests so they'll actually be in the right place. So that is where our body is rotating around. Where's it gone now? Should be in here. Yep, there it is. Does that seem like a good place to people? Does that seem like about the right placement? Feels kind of good to me. Not sure. Not 100%. be a little lower. Okay, so for the wargs, to the body we'll add a marker as well, which means I need to open up the warg textures and see if there's a dot I could use, because I'll need to use the same texture. That's brown warg. This'll do, I should think. So that is 17-1. Another question for folks: should the chests always be aligned to the ground? So if the warg is sat down, do you want them to be like still straight up whilst the bag that they're connected to is curved, or do you want them to actually like be linked to the body? Because that's relatively trivial to add, and I feel like it makes a bit more sense. Of course, we never see the horses sitting down or doing anything, so for them it's just there. Okay, so where is... Okay, there is the cube from... There's the actual rotation point of the body, which is what we want to match that to as best as we can. I don't think it's a huge problem with this particular state, but we do want to make sure it's there so that the rotation carries properly. So if we're not sleeping... That's 14 and 2. Let's see how far different that is. Annoyingly, when they're scaled, which they currently are, they are not scaled from the core of the model, as it were. They're scaled from more or less an arbitrary point near give or take where the bottom of the player's head is. So your head is actually at the 0 point of your model. Which is why, in the case of most small animals, the Y coordinates of their model parts are really big and really low. Like -14 or something. Okay, that does look pretty close, but I do think the Y value is correct to begin with. Why does that look... I guess just the one. Okay, there they are. In this state, this part doesn't move, I believe, so it should be pretty much fine. Let's just make a check. Yeah, body doesn't move as long as it's in this state. So now we modify that to go back. Hey again, how you doing? Let's see, current is at a 0, so we're going to be moving it quite a bit. What I could do is just make a generic layer renderer, so I just give it the right chest model, and it then proceeds to just run it. But what that would mean is we'd also most likely have to give it we need to either give it a resource location or just have it always be the same resource location. And I kind of like the notion of it being of having different text like chest textures. So yeah. Okay, that is looking good. Do you think we need to lower it a little bit? Let's have a look at the origins down here. Yep, okay, that's fine. So let's see, default Y value is -8. Let's make that about -9. Should all be good for that. So the next thing is matching the rotation point when they're sleeping, or when they're sitting, more specifically. Because right now it is quite different indeed. Keep that at 2, I think. For right now, at least, we'll find out. Yeah, developing models is painstaking, but developing the textures is a lot easier because you can just reboot the resource pack. many different abilities I've got these days? I don't know. Okay, that's the right angle, I think. So where is the core? We need to be pushed a little back on the Z-axis. And significantly deeper on the Y-axis. Someone outside is loudly proclaiming their gigantic masculinity, I'm sure. Oh well. Okay, that's pretty close by the looks of it. Yep, just needs to go down a bit and a little bit more forward, but that's fine. Happy little wargs is essentially what we're doing tonight. Once we've got chests going, hopefully doing the texturing for the carpet should be a lot easier. Or rather, doing the modeling for the carpet should be a lot easier because we can just reuse the warg texture, the warg model itself. Just scale it up, translate slightly, it should work fine. Which is more or less much the same way that armor is done. And the way that I'm doing this is that everything has like layers to it. So you'll have chests at the back there. Oh, we need to go further forward by the looks of this. And maybe a little bit more down. It's interesting how different a position the chests are, considering that we're not changing that. Right, so that should be... Was it 3 before, wasn't it? Yeah. Say 1 and 33. That is the right angle though, so that's good. Slowly but surely getting there. Do the chests on donkeys move, or is that another thing that I'm misremembering? Like when you walk around with a donkey with a chest on it, do those chests move, or are they just like locked to the side of the donkey? Because I distinctly recall them moving, and I would like to know if I'm imagining that. Have I just gone into a Berenstain universe? Forwards. So I can check here, don't I? That should put them in the same place, but evidently we need to change the Y value. I said the same height. Which is a little weird, but there is downscaling involved here. Maybe I could probably make this a bit tighter by downscaling the by specifically downscaling the chests as they're rendered rather than the body. And then at least their coordinates are the same, but opposite direction apparently. And yeah, you do need to go forward a bit more, which should be negative on the z-axis for forward. Does that need to go higher? Yes, yeah. That way. I think it does need to go a bit lower here. Right, let's do that then. Actually, no, if I do that, then half of this will be undone. Because what will happen then is that the chests will render at the 0 point rather than the offset point from their position at the body. Ooh, that's mean. Functional code is more my favorite stuff, but this is, this is a nice change of pace every now and then. Like, a recent change that I've made is that if you have the damage reduction ability, which protects you against a portion of damage received, except from certain types, your melee attacks count as those certain types. So if you are two players who have the exact same species and therefore the same damage reduction ability, you cancel each other's out. So it's between yourselves, it's still a slap fight, but for anybody else trying to take you on, they have to go through that damage reduction. Essentially meaning that two creatures of the same species aren't incapable of hurting each other. Yeah, that looks good. I think I like that. That look good to everybody? Looks good to him. It is a little further back, but I kind of like that. Kind of sells the weight of it. So I just gotta lower it a bit. Which I think is maybe also 7? I guess we'll find out. While I wait for that to boot, let's have a look at llamas. With their decor. Oh boy, yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to adapt that pixel art style. Sweden, you in chat? Would you perhaps be up for making 16 different carpet textures for wargs? Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's set where that needs to be. Very nice. for this again. There we go. I forgot. For a hot second there, I was wondering if I was misremembering how llamas work. There we go. Oh, right, yes, you can't drive these guys, can you? Interesting you can't modify an entity while you're riding it. It's because you're technically the same entity. It's a little complicated. Okay. Okay, yeah. Essentially, all entities in one particular model are actually like every entity that's riding is in the same entity. So essentially, it's very much similar to how parents work, give or take. It's a little more complicated than that, but yeah. Okay. So, the way that this kind of effect is usually accomplished is by taking the same model, giving it bigger values, so a bigger scaling of each cube, and then using a different texture over top of that. So essentially we can use the exact same texture, the exact same model, at least, that we have here, give it a slightly increased scale value, and then just render a different texture over top of it. Now if we do that twice, we should be able to add both the carpets as well as the armor. The way I'm planning on layering it is you'll have armor, carpet, saddle, essentially. And yeah, let's check if you're... No. That might be something I remember from, like, the older model. Because they did redo the model, like, quite recently. So... Which I'm all for, personally. The old one's terrifyingly bad and extremely outdated. Okay, so let's call that done. That's the chest. Done. Very nice, very nice. Okay. So now we need essentially layer warg, everybody's content. Layer warg carpet. Extends layer warg. Now this is much the same. Much the same as what we did just there with the chest, except that we're using the actual model of the warg. So let's see. Llama. Decor. Am I correct that? Yes, it is. It is just scaling it up. Okay. Good, good, good. So more or less, we just take this scale value and drop it into everything that's here, which is a fair few pieces, but we should be good. where it's just 0, we can just put scale in, everything else scale in plus. Or minus. Get rid of that. And sure, we'll add this to the tongue. I don't know why we would, but maybe one of them's been licking the carpet and their tongue is stained like they've had Skittles or something. I don't know. Okay, the leg needs some actual scaling as well. Okay, so our model in here, private final model warg. Hypothetically speaking, can you only put carpet in their decorative slot, or could you add other items that have different aesthetics than the default wool colors? Currently it only accepts carpet, but there's nothing stopping me changing that down the line. Each of the free, there's the free like slots on the far left of their UI with the different icons on them. The only thing that distinguishes them is which item they're programmed to accept or what kind of item. So the armor one only accepts any item that extends out of horse armor item. The carpet one only accepts things that have the carpet tag, and the saddle one only accepts a saddle. These are three very different levels of specificity, and I can change them up to do whatever I like. Llama carpets look fun and funky compared to regular carpets. Yeah, they look funkier than the carpet you give them, which is weird. Lucian! Hey! And also Wiver, hi! How y'all doing tonight? Texture. Difference between the texturing for the chest and this, of course, is that we're not going to be using the same one. Which means I need to actually get the color, and from the color get a texture. Which is what the llamas already do. Anyways, I have squats to do, I see. So, yep. Giving the wargs fashion choices? Yep, I've already given them pockets. Show this off just yet. I was about to redeem the squads, but someone beat to. Oh, kind of the 90% of fashion developers. That's not entirely true. Kind of the 90% of women's fashion developers. Men's fashion developers will put far more pockets than is reasonable under most circumstances. Okay. Into there. And done. There we have it. Phew. yeah, it just made sense to make the wargs more customizable, because they're already pretty customizable, but in a manner that you can have actual access to, I feel people will enjoy. Okay, that ate up the end of my hour, so I'm gonna quickly run this through and see what we get. Hey, Stone. Oh, right, yes, we need to add that as a layer to the renderer. Or else we shall see nothing. What we should essentially see here is our warg uniformly becoming black and purple. Now what I could do, which would be far easier than having a separate carpet texture for every single kind of carpet as the llamas do, is just have a grayscale texture and then just tint that when I'm rendering. But I think people would prefer the different carpet decor, so... Let's see how this looks. Here it's Tuesday. Yeah, time is a blur for me too, honestly, at this point. Time moves far faster than it should. Here we go. Okay. A very chunky boy. Llama carpets and fun and funky, and I think wargs shouldn't be denied that opportunity. Yes. Perfect. Alright, success. And if we tell you to sit, the model obliges. Very good. How fancy will I make the carpets? Well, I think that's largely up to Sweden, personally. God, it's like a Saint Bernard. That's what it's reminding me for with the size of this head. It's either a bear or it's like the dog that they trained to hunt bears in Russia. But okay. Back in 10. See you then. Everybody, to the final hour of our evening. We are currently endeavoring to give our wargs nice carpet layers. And currently I'm starting by just giving them, like, a texture there, a base texture. Something that is simple and straightforward and does not cover the entire animal, as it were. But we have managed, thus far, to add chests to them. We have managed to make them look kind of like a bear hunting dog in black and purple, or magenta to be more specific. So now I've gone quickly and curtailed a texture, so hopefully this should look a little bit more recognizable. Almost, I think. Okay, let's give them some carpet, because right now it should just be tied to the exact same value. We shouldn't really care too much what kind of carpet it is. Okay, so it still looks like a bear, basically, literally just a bear, which tells me I've got something wrong here. Ah, that's why. Okay, it's looking for warg decor rather than decor. Gotcha. So it's just a texture name issue. Could fix that just by renaming the folder, but we'll stick with what we got. And there. That should fix that up. So what we should find is a warg that looks a lot more rainbow, because pastel rainbow gradient is our default whenever we start with a texture. Just so we can see precisely which parts relate to which part. I have taken it off of most of the limbs and the tongue, but gay rights warg. Oh god, now I'm thinking about now you've got me thinking about implementing like rainbow carpet or something. There's a little bit of wonkiness there. Okay, we have turned you into a Teletubbies character, but I think that's good. That certainly looks like all of the parts that we would think to put the carpet on, I think. Maybe not the ears. What do we think, people? What if you can use the flags in the same slot as the carpets? Oh lord, that would be so much stuff to worry about. And I haven't coded yet how, like, you give them things to hold in their mouths. Which you can do with the wargs. You can't do that with the warg currently. But yeah, so they've got a texture. If I take that off, no more texture. Bleh. Okay. Doesn't have any relation to what color this is just yet, but we can fix that up real quick by just generating one of these for every single one. What's the ordering in here? Because they're not generated in that or in alphabetical order. Orange, magenta, not magenta, magenta, light blue, yellow, lime, pink, gray, light gray. There's a lot of different flags. I don't even remember how many flags there are. So having a texture for that for every single kind of, like, color of carpet, as well as for every pride flag. Ooh, that could be pretty rough. Although, what I could do instead is expand the armor slot so it can accept a pride flag, and then instead of rendering the armor texture, then it just like puts a couple of pride flags right around where the chests are. That's a thing we could do quite easily. And then we wouldn't actually need to make new textures at all, because we would just have them already baked in. That'd be really funny. Yeah, so you just like ride into your pride parade on this warg with like asexual flags, for instance, on the back of it. As I say, this will have no effect right now because we don't actually have all these textures. Reminds me of an old snapshot where you could put banners on instead of a helmet. You still can, actually. It's just I don't think it's accessible in survival mode. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can still do that. Think you have to use commands? Possibly. Okay. So our wargs already have a color. So entity living base in dot get carpet color ID. Chest. Currently it just returns whites, but if we give our warg a data manager variable, then we should be able to have it actually check things and update them client and server side. There's a difference between wolves and tamed wolves besides the color. Yeah, they used to very much just be the same entity, but yeah. Oh, and textures, right? Yes, their eyes are a bit bigger and like kinder. I don't know, cuter. Which I guess means that you literally are like breeding the you're like selective breeding the dog by taming it alone. Okay, there should be a clothes container in here somewhere. Oh, an inventory changed. There you are. Update carpet. So get data manager, set carpet color. In our case, that's going to be based on the contents of our inventory. So due to the armor, currently we just clone from the inventory directly to the warg's chest slot, so we can just have an armor thing there handled. Die color equals carpet is empty, then -1, that just needs to be an integer. Let's check the llamas for a second here, because they presumably want to know their color here too. Okay, need the ID. Where do we get the ID? Where do we get that part from? Get carpet color. Get block from item. Okay. There we go. Okay. And we just need to tell get carpet color to reference the data manager, and we should get actual proper reference. Just to be clear, does that return a default value? If it's less than 0, it equals 0, so yeah, that's not going to work entirely how I'd like it to. Okay. So, if the carpet color equals null, don't do anything. Otherwise, we know it's going to be something meaningful. I probably could just save myself some trouble here by actually using the carpet, by using the ID value rather than converting back and forth between dye colors, but for the moment, this is fine. Okay. I think that's set, so this will take us back to big mountain bear kind of situation, unless we are using a white carpet, because that is the only texture that currently exists. It's not finalized, but it exists. But yeah, I figure people are going to do one of two things, I think, with the wargs, which is they're going to spend an absolute age, one way or another, breeding wargs to make a warg, and then when you have a warg, you'll do one of two things. You'll either accept it as it is, or you'll keep trying with the wargs to try and breed the exact look of warg that you want, and in either case, I imagine you're gonna want to dress it up. So, having this option to make it like the world's angriest pack mule, or like something you ride into battle, or something that you parade through the township with, just makes sense to me. Okay. So, there we go. Got no texture there, but if we instead use white carpet, we should see the texture that we had before. Aha! Very good. Grand and good. Okay. So, nothing there. Something there. Grand. Okay, we have color-dependent texture now. All we need now is the textures for it. And I'm also going to quickly go through and create a similar renderer, or similar layer renderer, rather, for the actual armor. And get that closer in. So layer, warg, armor. And you will be able to use just regular horse armor for this, because adding a different one for every single thing is just gonna be, oh, such a pain in the neck. Let's see, horse armor chests. Does horse armor come with its own texture? It do. Can I extract the? I can get the integer armor value. I might not be able to implicitly build in support for, or build in textures at least for non-vanilla horse armor. But I don't know that that will be a huge problem because I can't think of modded horse armors anyways. I think that's been a joke since like Oblivion or something. What is it? What is it I'm thinking of? Was it Oblivion? Yeah, it was Oblivion. The horse armor pack, which is notorious. Which, essentially, it was just a really bad DLC for Oblivion. Nobody likes it, as a consequence. Okay. Oh, the biomes you'll go adds at least one? No, it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, let's make that. Let's make that 0.2. And then the decor, we can make 2.3. Or 2.5, I guess. And then last but certainly not least, we will need one for the saddle. Which we'll make 0.3. Okay, so if they're not saddled, we don't need to worry about it. Very straightforward there. And we do probably want to have an actual, like, full-blown texture for warg saddles on the sheer basis that they're a very different shape to horses and whatnot. So whilst we can move around the chests and whatnot to fit, it's going to be harder for that. Saddle. Did I mistype something? No. I just, for some reason, didn't import it, I guess. Odd. Okay, so how are we gonna deal with this? This is probably just gonna have to be a switch case, I think. Okay, so using our chest slot as the main thing here, we're just going to... Actually, I don't think it'll let me use a switch case for this. Pity. That'll make things so much easier. Which then means I basically need to do this every single time. So let's see, leather, iron, gold and diamond. Is there no chainmail for horses? I'm learning a lot tonight that what I thought I knew about Minecraft horses was wrong, but I was fairly certain that there was chainmail at some point, at least. But apparently not. Okay, so check if it's one of those 4. If it is, when we know what texture to use. Otherwise, just don't try to render anything, because we will probably just end up with black and purple again. So texture there would equal new resource location, entity warg renderer dot resource base plus armor lever dot png. Can you dye leather horse armor? Out of curiosity, can that be done? Leather horse armor can be dyed. Okay, that's a thing I'll need to add a note into then. Apparently you can, so we're gonna add support for that. It'll be way less fancy than the carpet, but yeah. Even more customizability, yeah. Okay. Do I have that correct? Yes, I do. Good. So that should be all of the different layers now, and they should all have different, like, scales, so they shouldn't intersect. Excepting in places where they overlap anyways. Okay. Let's give it a look. So Sweden, this is basically the sections that you'll be dealing with. There's 2 parts of the mane, there's the 2 parts of the rear part of the body, there's the head and the head wear, top of the, like, the top muzzle section, the ears, and the tail. I will put this on GitHub after stream, and, like, you can have a look through that. The brightness and darkness of those cubes does indicate which part's the top and the bottom, if that helps. But obviously I'm not going to be able to just shoot you something to display what these will look like, so apologies in advance for that. Okay, good, that reacts appropriately. We have a problem. Oh. What's happening there? Slot click. Apparently there was a problem in placing a stack there. That's related to that's the inventory is still a little hinky, so that's probably it right there. But saddle is a relatively simple texture. Like, have a look at it. And because we use the whole warg, as it were, I can put a pit and bridle on them. But that's the saddle right there. Stirrups and all. go. Okay, no intersection there. Good. And let's have some armor. Let's go with iron for this. So, yep, good. And then the white carpet doesn't intersect at all, just overlapping. Good. Very good, very good. And then last but certainly not least, the saddle, which overlaps all of it. Grand. That is a lot of stuff. There we go. I do still need to do some tinkering to get the movement working right, because right now it should be essentially you should have to fight them a bit. But okay, highly customizable wargs. Let's see if we can throw together a very quick texture for the saddle. Do they still get speedy feats? They do still get speedy feats. I think that's the main... Is this gonna be... There's... Which part's the main? God, I don't know anymore. Let's see... 6, 4, and 5. Coordinates 0, 20, so it is on this side. It's this chunk, right here. Okay. How big is this texture on the horses that we know get heavily resized? 10 by 9. Oof. Is that not the top? I need to actually look at this in game now, come to think of it. We'll finish off the evening by throwing together a quick saddle texture. So if I give you white carpets, that shows us that. Oh, I still need to remove that cube from the chests, but it's fine for the moment. Okay. I think so. The dark blue and the turquoise, or the aquamarine, or whatever you want to call that. Keep. So these two, essentially, are our saddle. Is it? No, it's the darker blue. So, lightest of these two, I think these two. I think. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so that's the big main section. Let's keep that in for the hot minute. Take out the bottom sections of each. Overwrites. Refresh the assets. Give saddle. Okay. And the underside is empty. Good. The most challenging part will be the different midsection sizes. Yeah. I've got this big floofy mane, and then everything else to deal with. Rude. I'm just trying to think here. Okay. Good, good, good. Was that the... That was, I think, the wrong way to go. I've just got forward armor plating. So that's not the section I want to remove then. So we've got some nice barnyard animal ambience right now. There we go. That's what I was looking for. That's what I mean by saying that it's a lot easier to make textures than it is models. Ah, perfect. Okay, so let's... Where's the settle? There's the settle. Let's just grab that color. And line the bottom of this. So we have a clear idea of where everything goes. Hopefully. Okay. Good, good, good. We have that nice joining line. I do kind of want to have something going over the top of this big section here, but probably curtail that a bit so it's more like you're leaning forward on it, I guess. Of course, on horses, this has been scaled more, so who knows where it ends up, pretty much. Let's see, which side is that? That must be the light... No, that can't be the light blue side. This has to be the light blue side. The Tragedy of Minecraft Horses, a novel. More of a saga, I feel like. Oh, wrong side. In theory, there should actually just be very different items for this, so you'd have a warg saddle and a horse saddle, but that would take us forever to deal with, so passing on that. Okay. Steadily coming together. Very good. Yep, so stops back there. Good. This model gets very complicated. Okay. Let's just stick some color into that for a hot minute. Call that done for tonight at the very least. I will probably do some more texture work on this in the forthcoming week. But yeah, there we go. There is a saddle on our warg, which sits on top of the carpet, so you can always tell. And carpet in turn sits on top of the armor that we don't currently have a texture for at all, but there it is. Allowing us to see all of that. Hurrah! So we can tell, we can tell a lot just by looking at our warg here. We can tell they're wearing armor, we can tell they've got a saddle, we can tell that they've got carpet on. If the armor texture wasn't taking up every part of the model, we would also be able to tell some details of their particular, like, their fur color. Coat, there we are. And because this is hooked up to all of the genetics, we should also be able to tell what their genes are. So yay for that. Okay. I just need to sort out the inventory a little bit here, because this is still a little wonky. But, you know, we're there. We're getting there. Very nearly done with wargs. And then we can move on to other things, like mimics and such. But that will have to come at a later date. So hope everybody's enjoyed. My next stream should be on a Thursday with some more, probably Sea of Thieves, but maybe Among Us with the World of Madness crew. And then on Saturday we should have some more random games with the carousel and the patrons. This forthcoming Sunday is planned to be the Patron Games Day, so if you're a patron over patreon.com/lying at any level, you can hang out with us for about 8 hours or so, where we play through a succession of games. I'm hoping to have the patron pack updated by then, as well as picked out a nice little adventure map for us to play through. But we'll see how that goes. It is still quite warm, and I've got a lot to do this week, and spoons are on a steady decline over the course of the last 18 months, for some reason. But we'll see. I will do my best, nonetheless. Other than that, any videos I make over at youtube.com/remembercomic. Any news with regards to like bonus streams and such will also be at twitter.com/lyinginbedmon. And hope you all enjoyed. Catch you next time.